Well, good day everybody, and welcome to my channel, Whiskey Journey. Today's something a little bit different for you guys. This is not a review, more just my first impressions. And I thought it would be interesting to open up this bottle right here and give you my first impressions and my first thoughts of what I think of this bottle. Most of my reviews, I tend to have the bottle open for some time and give it time to breathe, etc. And then I can give you my thoughts, but I'm not really taking time to do that. So it's more just what do I think straight away, and sometimes it can be quite difficult to give all the correct tasting notes or what I'm thinking at the time. So what is this bottle? So this is from Ardnahoe. This is the new Society release, limited release for 2025. This was released on Wednesday, just past. Whilst I just let the dram settle just a wee bit, I thought I would just talk about maybe a few negatives, in my opinion, of this release. So this was released on Wednesday, 10th of December at about 10 a.m. And at the time I went online and saw it there and looked at it, and they had they had a limitation, but it was a limitation of 4 bottles per person, which I thought was quite a lot. I would expect a Society release to be maybe 2 bottles tops. Needless to say, this was sold out within an hour and a half. By 11:30, it was all sold out. The only way you can get this release now is if you visit the distillery shop in Islay, which most people would not be able to do that. So, in my opinion, a bit of a strange decision to limit the bottle allocation to 4 per person as opposed to maybe 2. Obviously it sold out very quickly, and of course already I'm not going to mention the retailers' names, etc., but I can see already the selling for £70 above what it cost at retail, which I think is absolutely insane. So this is a bit of a rant as well. I mean, it's just ludicrous. The retailers should not be able to do that, in my opinion. This is a Society release, which is meant to be released for fans, and it's a shame that a lot of people are just going to miss out on this release simply because they weren't in the right place at the right time, and they have to hunt it down and get it from retailers that are charging £70 more than what it was retailed at, which I think is, as I said, just absolutely ludicrous. Anyway, that's my rant out the way. Let's get on to what this is all about. So, as I said, this is Ardnahoe's Society release for 2025. I missed out on the 2024 release, but as soon as I saw this, I thought I had to pick it up. It says here, this limited edition release has been bottled exclusively for members of the Ardnahoe Society, fully matured in a combination of Oloroso, PX and bourbon quarter casks. As I said, it's 5 years old, and doesn't give any information on limitations. I don't know how many bottles of this have been released. Doesn't say on the bottle. As usual, product is non-chill filtered natural color, and it says it's cask strength as well on their website. Don't think it mentions cask strength on the bottle. Just says no artificial coloring, non-chill filtered. But it is indeed cask strength, bottled at 61.1% ABV. So quite a high strength. So what I'm going to do is just have a wee nosing and a wee tasting. I've also got a little bit of water here as well, just to see if that changes anything, or if anything develops further in the glass. Already I can smell peat coming from the glass straight away. But let's see what the tasting notes are like. As I said, I haven't nosed this. This is me just opening up the bottle, so let's see what we get on the nose. You can definitely get the sherry influence, so I'm picking up raisins, raisinated fruits, some cherry, dried fruits as well, apricot. There's a little bit of caramel as well. Pete's a little bit shy at the moment, but I am picking up some coastal influence. So some typical sort of sea spray oysters, shellfish, a little bit of smoked fish. And there is, in the background, I'm starting to get the peat. Almost like a charcoal type peat with a little bit of sort of that soil sort of element, that rich soil. Okay, so on the nose, as I said, a little bit closed with the peat, but picking up all this beautiful sherry, typical sherry type notes, and a coastal influence. And as this sits in the glass, that earthy sort of soil nature just starts leaping from the glass. Right, let's just have a wee taste and see what we get on the first taste. There's the peat. Whack. On the end, more in the finish, more so than anything else. Smoky. Tobacco leaf. Seaweed, sea spray, definite coastal influence. Some spiciness as well. There's a little bit of some dryness there too as well. Tiny bit of dark chocolate on the end as well, bit of bitterness, but not really, in my opinion, intrusive. Quite a long finish. That smokiness just remains and just mellows towards the end a wee bit. Not the longest finish in the world, but impressive for a first tasting. 5 years of age. I wouldn't say it tastes particularly youthful as such. I mean, it is a youthful dram, obviously, but it's not. It certainly doesn't taste mature. It doesn't have that complexity, in my opinion, or maturity. But that's just a very tasty dram, just on the first taste alone. I've added a few drops of water. The alcohol integration, I think, is pretty good as well. 61%. I mean, that's high strength. For me, that doesn't particularly feel that high in strength. I would think I'd be thinking maybe mid-50s. So alcohol integration is really decent. Almost a slight industrial sort of edge just now. Almost a lick of metal just on the finish. Or stays on the tongue. Very interesting. Right, so I've added a few drops of water just to play around, and let's see if that's changed the nose any, at all. As I said, the nose for me a little bit closed with the peat initially, but the explosion of peat on the palate, you definitely get more peat on the palate than the nose suggests initially. But let's just see what those drops of water have done. Okay, so still getting the dried fruits, typical sort of raisins. I think raisins comes out more, it's more prominent. Bit of musty oak. But for me, that's pushed the earthy character slightly, so it's not quite as rich with that earthy soil nature. It's still there, but yeah, it is definitely still there, but it's not quite as prominent at its full strength as what it is at its full strength. There's still the coastal influence is still there. I'm still struggling to get sort of peat on the nose. it's there, but it's not really dominant. Definitely a deep mustiness, and definitely more the sherry influence. There's perhaps more red fruits coming out now, so some strawberry. So anyway, in short, I'm not sure if the water really adds much to the nose. I think it detracts from the earthy soil nature that I was getting on the nose at its full strength. And the peat, I think what I got on the coastal influence, what I got at its full strength, has also been pushed. Anyway, let's just see what it tastes like though with those few drops of water. Okay, so sorry, I'm just gathering my thoughts, guys. So I think at its natural strength, I'll just drink it at its 61.1%. I think the slight reduction in the strength with the water hasn't really done much for this dram, in my opinion. It still drinks fine at 61.1%. I forgot to mention on first sip as well, a nice oily arrival, quite viscous and thick. I think water has just dampened this a bit. The peat and the smoke, I didn't get that whack of peat and smoke on the end. I can certainly smell it, but on the taste, it's definitely not as prominent as what it was at its full strength. So I think you can certainly, you can, with a bottle, you can certainly play around with water, but I don't think that water does much to this. I think it takes away too much. So it takes away that earthy, that sort of earthy, rich soil note on the nose and on the palate. I think it takes away a bit of that peat and coastal influence. I'm not getting as much coastal influence now on the palate at its reduced strength, and I didn't use a lot of water there. That was only a few drops. And as I said, because this drinks, the integration of the alcohol is really good, I think this just drinks perfectly at 61.1%. So in my opinion, guys, if you manage to get a bottle, drink it at cask strength, sure, play around with it if you wish with water, but yeah, I think it's where it's at 61.1%. I think that's absolutely spot on. Drinks really, really nicely, guys. So I think as a release, I'm impressed with it. I'm enjoying it. It is youthful, but not as youthful on the palate as you would think for a 5-year-old. It definitely, I think the influence of all the different casks that they've used is good. There's definitely lots of flavour there. It's an enjoyable, and you certainly get that Islay experience, and it does capture the essence of Islay, obviously. Do I think it'll probably get a little bit better as we go down the bottle and get a bit of air? Quite possibly. But as I said, this is not a review, guys. This is just my first thoughts. As I said, normally with my reviews, I sit with the dram for a while. I get to know the dram. This is just out the box. So yeah, those are just my initial thoughts. A really good dram, and something that I think will be really enjoyable as time goes on, and this just sits for a little bit. As I said, that metallic sort of note is still there, just in the end. I'm also picking up some caramel as well. So there is a little bit of an industrial edge on this, in my opinion. Could be because it is only 5 years of age. It is quite youthful. But yeah, just great that Ardnahoe has released this for society members. But as I said, just a shame that it's already sitting in whiskey shops at 70 odd quid more than what it was at retail. And it's a shame it sold out so quickly. So if you weren't around at the time, 10 o'clock on the Wednesday, you would have missed out, unfortunately, within an hour and a bit. But yeah, good to give you my thoughts, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you managed to snag a bottle. And I hope you enjoyed this little wee tasting and just giving you my thoughts, my initial thoughts. Okay. All right, guys. So as usual, not much else to say, but have a good day. See all of you again soon. Take care. Cheers.